Alright, I'll be on mute here.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. It is Friday, TGIF, and all that.
Mute
We're
here.
also. All right, hello everyone. Yeah, looks like we're live on YouTube, so that's good to see. It is also the end of Q3. 2019. So we spent some time in the Daily Brief talking a little bit about sort of expectations for today, and then tomorrow being well, not tomorrow but Monday being the last sort of official trading day of Q3. So we probably have what they call window dressing going on right now in the stock market, and a lot of position squaring as well too. This is the U.S. Government's fiscal year end, which also historically has been one of the main reasons why we see a lot of sort of funny business in the month of September in the stock market anyway. So, kind of a muted day in the stock market itself because of this and the commodities markets, but a lot of the sort of prevailing trends that we've seen of recent seem to be continuing on. I don't see a heck of a lot of change today. And because of the proximity to the end of the quarter, I can't imagine we're going to have any huge violent moves one way or the other. And if anything, probably a lot of, like I said, position squaring. Did have a special treat today. The One of our site members, who happens to be a member of a community called Bravado Trading, I think it is, Colin. He had some time off today from his sort of full-time gig, and came onto the Daily Brief and talked a little bit about what he happens to be seeing in the crypto market. So, if you are a member of that community, I think Colin said he was going to try and post that video as well in their room. But of course, if you're considering joining TRI, it's this kind of sort of value-added service. Contributions from many different site members and site veterans that I think really makes TRI a really fun, unique experience. Yesterday we had the baby powder report from Julian, really interesting perspective on options and using RSI studies. So as always, I like to put together a nice little chart deck to sort of summarize what it is that we talked about. Colin is very crypto oriented and altcoin names oriented. So we have a whole bunch of names that he was interested in. Actually, it's interesting that this is still here because I wanted to just simply point out that things like Ethereum versus Bitcoin, are going through their bottoming process. But here's our chart deck. It is Friday, so let's end on a strong note. You can see it's 25 minutes past the hour. I do have a class that I have to teach, so let's maybe just do this in the next 5-10 minutes, then send you on your way. Like I said, not a heck of a lot of new going on in the market. If anything, what I'm seeing is a lot of sort of end of moves happening here. And hats off to those that are taking profits. I think we're like maybe a little bit early for calling any new direction. We're still sort of in the process of winding up previously working trades. So with that said, as we said, U.S. dollar index, U.S. dollar government's fiscal year end. So in a weird sort of way, that might also be validation why we're seeing the U.S. dollar as strong as it is. Nonetheless, when you do see U.S. dollar strong like you see right here, that generally is not a great comment for the rest of the world economy. The malaise out of Europe and Asia and stuff, I think, is being reflected in this strong U.S. dollar index. It's interesting too to see because weekly gaps don't really like to be left open, and we actually do have a weekly gap here. We closed 98.46, opened up this bar 98.51. So at some point we will have to come back and fill that in. But it's not today, and strong US dollar into the weekend. We always like to do this quick boo. Is the market risk on or versus risk off? I think you can clearly see that, we are definitely risk offy. And that also sort of reiterates, validates what we're seeing out of the US dollar index. Little bit of mixed message from the bond market. It isn't really crapping out here. But I did notice last night the yen market started to roll over here, and it really didn't enjoy that much of a rally yesterday. And I noticed that as yen was breaking to new lows, and I'm a big fan of watching yen gold, I noticed that the gold couldn't hold on to its gains. It started to melt down as well. And, maybe we'll show you guys in the Monday video, but we do a study called The First 2 Weeks, which basically tells us it's all about sector rotation and where fund managers are putting money. And I distinctly remember that the report from the first 2 weeks of Q3 showed that there was a massive drawdown in commodity-related names, materials, and energies through that first 2 weeks. So it really shouldn't surprise us that heading into the end of the quarter, the commodity markets in general are fairly weak. Let's see. I was kind of hoping I could just ad-lib and find this chart for you while I'm talking, but I don't seem to have it just handy. Maybe this is it. Let's see what we got here. Survey says, what's this say? January? Nope, that's not it. Nope, we'll have to plan for it Monday. All right, enough of that. Moving on. Where are we here? There we are. Risk on, risk off, risk on assets coming off here a bit. And actually, this is interesting because now on things like the S&P 500s, you can see, failures up at top end of ranges, inside bars, very noticeable actual technical failure here. I'm actually surprised talking heads in the public and stuff are not mentioning this, because that's actually pretty important technical fail there. And it looks like we're going to finish the week here. You've heard Brian talk at length about what I consider the blatant manipulation of the oil market. So I don't think we necessarily need to go over that, but same sort of thing, risk on, coming off. Oil still working its way lower. The risk off assets coming back on, maybe. Interesting to see the gold might actually now start forming a double top breakdown, an actual M. If we change this to a line chart, you can see the M potentially forming. And it was kind of fun. Maybe you don't want to short gold. Maybe you don't want to buy put options. You've heard Brian talking lots about his desire to be hunting shorts there. That's sort of, which one is it? This conversation. Missed, I think, probably interesting trade location. But as I had said earlier, what I really wanted to see was a nice polite fail in reload zones. Neither of these markets have made it up there, and frankly speaking, I don't know if gold's done here yet or not, but hopefully you can see that double top if it does come in up, down, up, and then fail through these levels. Then we can start hunting, reload zones, all that kind of stuff, trend line tags on counter trend rallies. But I'm still holding out for my reload zone idea. But in the daily brief today, we just mentioned that there are inverse proxies, and actually it was really cool, and that's what I wanted to really mention. But frankly speaking, I don't know. And Kevin, maybe you can find it. Do you think you could just maybe while I'm talking here, just PM Colin and get the symbol for that ETH bear proxy? Maybe this is it. Yeah, off of this FTX. That's what I wanted to talk about with ETH. But of course, it hasn't got much data. Anyway, we'll get to that later on. But here's a really good example where we could consider the dust is an inverse proxy on the gold market, and hopefully you see these things basically look opposite, and that's what they're supposed to look. And interesting to see how we potentially have a W coming in on this ETF, this bear ETF. It's actually, like I shorted the NASDAQ stock market last fall, typical seasonal correction, blah, blah, blah. And the way I actually played it was through a short ETF buying the call options on it. So, I guess, given today's the quarter end, the month end, U.S. fiscal year end, not a lot of volatility in the market. We spent a little bit of time talking about alternatives, and also we'll mention Colin in his presentation talked about how he was long a bear proxy on ETH, and he did quite well on the trade. So congratulations, Colin. So in the daily brief, we talked a little bit about this is one way you might consider playing the gold market if this M's out. You could always, hunt the W's and just be long this dust, or even, I don't know whether they have options, but maybe over the weekend I'll take a look at the options chains. So this is the kind of thing that we're kind of mulling over right now. Moving on, like I noticed, and there's just not a heck of a lot to report, but the sort of stocks that I'm in right now, some up, some down. Obviously, crypto related. I'm watching this little riot, and it's coming right back down. I said that I'd blow it out on a move through 176. It's sitting at 182. So, if the alert goes off, Brian will act. But long and short of it, not really a heck of a lot to do. And I don't see too many other sort of significant names moving in earnest here to cause me to do anything in particular off of this list. So I think we'll probably leave the stock market at that. Let's head on over to crypto. We've talked, of course, lots about Bitcoin recently. I still think on balance what you probably will see happen here is Mr. Gann's 50% rule often acts as sort of like an oscillator where we just oscillate around this 50% rule. We did that on the way back up, right? If we do 50% rolls going the other direction. You can see, right? We came up, and then, there is the 50% roll, then back down, then up, then down. So, that's my expectation is that we're going to end up like oscillating around 50% roll. But in the short term, market can do any old damn thing it wants. And I put on here, markets love to just zip down, tag mountain man, and then jackknife back the other direction. And, just like I did off of this chart, right, going the other direction, really good example of that. Do I have Mountain Man on here alone? Doesn't look like it. Anyway, reload zone, Mountain Man, tag, reverse. So we could very easily find that the market has to dip down to this 7,200. Again, I don't really, this is me just personally. I think this is the end of the move, not the beginning of the move. I love the idea of guys who were short and patient through this, taking profits here. Could we dip lower? Sure. Market could do any old damn thing it wants. And of course, if I actually want to be a buyer of Bitcoins, then I have to patiently wait for some sort of, first, are we at or below reload zones? But then I really want to see some sort of W. So, any kind of buy signals, very much like you saw here. And I mean, look how long this took to develop, right? From the point where, maybe this is our low here, right? We make a low, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 weeks. That's like about a third of a year. So this is probably going to take some time to clean up here. That's my general feeling. Off of lower time frames, algos still working their short signals. Man, this algo's sick. Not right 100% of the time. Algo will take losses, just like every other setup. It happens. But really good analogy of, sell half of the position on initial 2-to-1 and then just keep moving your stop on new market structure. And I think their stop now would be sort of that level there. And if we W out here heading into the weekend, CME boys position squaring, cleaning up their books, I think that makes sense. But anyway, that's what it is. If we just make new lows, then we make new lows. Did see that it was interesting, I think off of this chart? No. Boy, that's one of these charts. Of course, I never find them when I want them. This chart, maybe? Survey says. There we go. Did see lots of people posting in the lounge, and, hats off to you. Traders got to trade. That we do have new bots potentially forming here. We had sort of jokingly asked whether this was an Adam and Eve bottom yesterday because, V bottom and then W. And then we kind of looked at this and, well, gee whiz, looks like Adam's two-timing Eve because there were like multiple bottoms. Long and short of it here, all those double bottoms all got busted out there. So I think any long ideas are off the table for now. But, I did see lots of people post in the TRI lounge, one high, two highs, worked its way back up, three highs, four highs. Ooh, let's run these weekend stops. And you can see going through this 79.70 created basically a new M top. So some people on the site are actually working this bearish bot, and notice that takes us down. If this hits and validates, takes us down to that 72.20 area. And why did I mention this all to begin with? Because remember, 72.20 was that mountain man level that we were watching earlier. Right off of this chart, it's 72.31. So, and I actually made an error in yesterday's video. I had talked about this mountain man level, but that's the mountain man level off of this rally. This is the mountain man level we have to concentrate on, which is basically this range. So it's 7,200 and change. So put it all together. I can completely understand shorts, people shorting and just riding the trend. Like I said, the algo is technically short here. Do I know what's going to happen here? No, it's a trader's life. You haven't got a fucking clue what's going to happen. Anybody who tells you that they know that what's going to happen, they're full of horse hockey. So all you can do is just trade your setups. And like I just wanted to report to you that, yeah, it looks like we got a new bearish bot setup working here. So live by the sword, die by the sword, as they say. And there's that 7,200 test of that key low, and it would just be simply a dump here. But as I had said earlier, I actually personally like the idea of just, those people that did have the balls to short that inside bar, hit that AB equals CD target, and now you're just counting your profits and getting ready to party for the weekend. But that's just me. We'll finish off today. I can't go into too much detail. But as I said, Colin did a really interesting presentation on the site today. And I was really proud of him. He said that, and he sort of, and this is what I like about TRI. It's not bullshit. It's not like we're predicting the future. He just simply said, look at, I had this particular setup and I took it and it worked. Way to go. So, I was touting long ideas. He was looking at this and saying, you know what, that looks like an inside bar failure or even double top if we go off of like 4 hour. And he used this bear ETF proxy on this FTX site. And on that double top on the 4 hours there, he went and bought this double bottom. And, there's some people in the market that just don't like shorting, and I'm kind of one of them. I'd much rather buy a put option than open-ended short. Kind of like what we mentioned with that dust. There are ways to actually get short these assets like Ethereum. through long proxies. So I was really proud of Colin for both taking the trade and making money. That's always good. But also, too, very professional, comes on the site, on the daily brief, and just sort of walks the community. This is what I saw. This is what I did. And if you can learn from my trading, awesome. So, interesting conversation from Colin in that regard. And then he gave us just a few names that he's mulling over right now. I've got them listed here. AION. This one is CND. WPR. And TNT. You know, of these, hopefully everybody looks at this bottom one and goes, holy crap, that's one of those beamish bottom things. I mean, hopefully you can see this. Nice W. Might be a little bit early on these guys, but also remember too, these are all relative to Bitcoin. And Colin was basically talking about how he has a Bitcoin stash and he trades altcoins relative to Bitcoin just to simply build his Bitcoin stack. And so to a certain degree, he's watching a lot of these altcoins versus Bitcoin. And the one that I might take a look at, and we might even look at this more in detail, is this TNT. Good looking bottom there. All right, that's your daily brief recap. No idea how long I was. Probably talked way too much. I do have to get off and teach a class now, so I'm going to leave it at that. Have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.